When my wife and I were shopping for a house, we got all sorts of different potential offers and houses to look at, but there was one. There was one house that was half the price of every other similar house we looked at. And some might look at that and say, that's a bargain. We should look at it. But I saw it and said immediately, what's wrong with it? See, there's a certain floor when it comes to price comparison. Yes, if it's too expensive, you're going to get priced out. But if you're too cheap, then people are going to look upon you suspiciously. Unfortunately, that's not always the case for free services. People look at free services and they think, great, I'm getting something for free. But there's an as old as it can be, adage in software development that says if you are not paying for the product, you are the product. Hey everybody, Joe Casabona here, the RSS.com product evangelist. And in today's head-to-head video, I want to look at Spotify for podcasters, formerly known as Anchor. This is a popular service because it's free, but just like when my wife and I were looking at that really, really cheap house, when I see a service that's free that everyone else charges for, I look at it and go, what's wrong with it? So let's attempt to answer that question today. What's wrong with it? But also, when should podcasters use Spotify for podcasters over a paid service? Let's take a look. Now, I'm actually going to start with our review. This is our blog post where we look at some of the most popular podcast hosting platforms. You can find it over at rss.com/blog. But we looked extensively at this one, and we came up with a little pros and cons list. Some of the pros: intuitive app, unlimited hosting and episodes, which is always good, analytics from Spotify, automatic distribution. There are monetization options. You can record and edit in app. You can create cover art, and there was, at the time of this writing, music integration, but they sadly got rid of that. And that's one of the things I want to touch on here, is that they are a free service, so it could feel a little bit more, let's say, capricious. They're going to do and try things and then remove things without warning, really, that they feel aren't working. This could be called the Google effect, right? Google is notorious for launching and then subsequently killing products, versus someone like Apple, who doesn't really kill a lot of products, at least not quickly or on any sort of really short timeline. So this is the difference between offering something for free and something paid. When something is paid, you have stakes, you have skin in the game. When something is free, the service provider can just decide it's not worth it, and since there are no customers, they can just decide to get rid of it. Now, if we look at Spotify's website and some of the features that they offer here, again, there are creation tools, video podcasts, growth tools, and the ability to earn money. Now, their money earning, we actually listed this under cons because, pros and cons, because, well, they take a pretty hefty cut. And again, they are advertising on your free content. And so, yes, you're using their service for free, but they're also taking a bunch of money from you. This is the YouTube method, but for some reason, it kind of hits different with YouTube, right? YouTube has a lot of different creator tools that allow them to help creators grow, right? It feels more of a partnership over at YouTube. And yes, YouTube is nearly 2 decades old at this point, and Spotify for podcasters is very new. But again, when YouTube came along, there weren't a bunch of paid video services that do the same thing that YouTube does. By the time Spotify for podcasters came around, or Anchor came around, there were already a lot of services where they were offering it for paid. So the value proposition is different there. But there is one other thing that I want to highlight here. And this is two stories from Pod News about Spotify for podcasters. The one over here on the right is a little bit older, but it talks about how Anchor could automatically delete your account without warning. There have been countless stories of Anchor and now Spotify for podcasters deleting, clearing out old shows. And again, they don't have any skin in the game. So if you're using their service for free and you're no longer using their service, they can take action on your content. You really need to take a good look at that end user license agreement to see what you are agreeing to and what you're not. But I think the bigger story here, the one that's more recent, is that they deleted a show called Evolving Prisons. And while they were able to restore the episodes, her audio was back, she lost all of her followers. Everybody who was following the show is gone. And she was seeing really good success. And she even gained a number of paid subscribers. And then they were all gone. So here's what Kagan said. Here's what Kagan told Pod News. I lost every single person that was following my podcast. I've lost all of my paid subscribers. When they deleted my podcast, the system then refunded each of my subscribers, and I had money sitting in my account from the last 4 months that I hadn't withdrawn. All my stats are gone too. That's really, really scary stuff, because not only did her podcast rely on Spotify for podcasters, but she had money, right? The monetization features that Spotify for podcasters promotes, they're free and they help you make money. Well, she lost all of that money too. And maybe they paid her back, right? We don't know what has happened. This story is relatively new, but still, this is scary for someone who is making money off of a free platform. And this is another difference when you look at free versus paid services, because at RSS.com, we follow the standard 3-2-1 strategy for backups. If you're unfamiliar with that, it is 3 copies of the data across 2 mediums and 1 offsite. So we have 3 copies of all of our podcasts and stats and all that information across 2 different mediums, and 1 is completely offsite. Now, as it turns out, it's just that 1 is in a different location from the others, since we are a very remote company and we don't technically have a headquarters or a single building where our data is. But one of those is, at least one of those is separate from the others. But we take it one step further, because we also have a separate cold storage that we use. We also have extremely strict permissions. So one person can't just go off and delete a bunch of shows. And if the absolute worst of the worst, I'm talking 0.0000001% chance of happening, we also have fast mitigation to minimize any potential loss. We go through great lengths to make sure that your data is safe and secure, because we know that's what you're paying for. You are paying us to make sure you are not at risk of losing your show, your followers, any money you could be making from your podcast. And we take that very, very seriously. So, with all that, who is Spotify for podcasters for? Well, I think if you are dipping your toe in the water, maybe if you just want to try podcasting, but you're not committed to it, a free service like Spotify for podcasters could work. But if you are banking your business or any income stream on your podcast, Spotify for podcasters is not it. for a bunch of reasons. And to be fair, Spotify also owns Megaphone, which is a high-end, pretty expensive podcast hosting platform. So I think they recognize that as well. If you are serious about your podcast and you want to use it to grow your business or grow your show or generate another income stream, RSS.com has several different plans. They are all affordable. You can have multiple shows for as little as $14.99 per month if paid annually. Unlimited shows, unlimited episodes, unlimited audio. We can convert to video as well. And for high traffic shows, we also offer dynamic ad insertion. But for all shows, we offer delegated delivery through Apple Podcasts. So if you want to make money through Apple Podcast subscriptions, you can do that at any plan. And of course, we have those backups in place. So that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Again, my name is Joe Casabona. I am the RSS.com product evangelist here. If you have any questions about RSS.com, free versus paid platforms, monetization, leave them in the comments below. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you out there.